nations.
The patriarchal nations for sure, though, are reproducing themselves. At least enough
we're not
of them.
reproducing at all.
At
And they're
least enough of them. For sure, though, the Western nations are not. And so you say, I can't believe how incredibly ignorant a plan would be that you think that patriarchy will reintroduce itself into society by necessity after you get done arguing that we're below replacement rates in the West and can't even reproduce ourselves. Then wouldn't it be a necessary entailment then that patriarchy is inevitable?
If it's inevitable, I'm not seeing a sign of it coming back. Where is it? You're saying the birth rates are declining.
I just told you the sign of it.
Yeah, you're saying the birth rates are declining. You're saying that clearly this is failing. You're saying clearly women getting all these rights sucks. Clearly relationships shouldn't be like this. So why are you the only person that sees this? Are you just the one that's losing the rest of the
I will say that the message is ahead of its time, right? But the decline in the birth rates has been, people have been sounding the alarm for a while. It's just been ignored because feminists, dumbass feminist propaganda and dumbass feminists who say stupid shit like, I don't care, even if it made 80% of women unhappy, I think the human race should go extinct so that my woman can be happy. We need the women to be happy. So, who cares at the expense of everything else on planet Earth?
If 80% of women that were giving birth were dying, but they were dying in childbirth, but their kids were living on, and that was the way to keep the world going, would you force those women to have children?
The entailment there of force, if you say, would I make laws that were stationed for them to have massive incentives to do this, and you consider that to be force because there would have to be people around to enforce those laws, then
like
yes.
Like what?
Like what?
Like what incentives?
For which thing?
So I'm saying in this hypothetical, because you have crazy hypotheticals, 80% of women that are going to have, let's say we had some disease, whatever, that 80% of women who gave birth were now dying in childbirth. And so a lot of them didn't want to have kids because if they had kids, they would die, but their kids would be alive and they would continue to flourish in society. You're saying that that's good for society to do that because we have to care about what's coming next.
In that particular case,
how would you enforce that?
Yeah, in that particular case, you would have a higher duty to make sure because that hypothetical actually isn't realistic. But even if I engage with it in a realistic way, if I just say, okay, let's just grant it, you still in that case would have a higher duty to keep the human race perpetuated, even at the expense of women, because now you have to deal with men and women. So even under the prism of happiness, where you say, well, wait a second, all the women will be completely miserable then. It's like, yeah, but if this is all you have to go off of is that all the women will die the second that they give birth, they're necessarily going to give birth to men, which means your happiness index would still go up even under those metrics.
The happiness index would go up because there's people and like more people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because they wouldn't exist otherwise, right?
Okay.
Men would exist otherwise.
You didn't answer my question.
I did.
In this hypothetical, how would you? So would you then force? Because you said you wouldn't use brute force to force these women to give birth. You said you would give them incentives.
Well, no. If I'm engaging specifically in the absurdum of this hypothetical, I would say then that yes, you would have a duty to actually use force, and that would be justified.
What would you do?
I don't know, make breeding facilities probably.
Force the women in there and then, okay, this is great. Yeah.
Can you tell me why that would be immoral under your hypothetical that you just asked me, which is, hang on, stop. Let me finish. Can you tell me why it would be immoral under the hypothetical you just posited for me to put women in breeding camps and breed them?
Because my moral philosophy, I believe in the no harm.
Then tell me why. Tell me why it's immoral to do that.
Immoral to imprison, kidnap, rape, force women to give birth so that future generations can go on.
Yeah, that's just restating the question. Can you tell me why it would be immoral for me to do that?
Because I don't think it's moral to.
Yeah, it's just a restatement of you don't think it's moral.